It seems indisputable that South Africa is currently in the midst of a crime epidemic, with carjackings and armed robberies becoming all too common, and the authorities seemingly powerless to intervene.
I know that all South Africans are very concerned about the levels of crime in the country, and so it's natural that people, because it has happened in the new dispensation, that it may be associated with a change in racial relations. But I know black people who feel as threatened, so I don't think it's Afrikaners only. What Afrikaners have experienced specifically is the very high level of murders of farmers. We have a murder rate of 50 people per day here in South Africa. The farming murder rate's about 8 times higher. I, in this district, have known 9 people to have been murdered since 1994. People I've known personally. It is absolutely natural that people will respond in a very negative fashion.
Magdalene, kom in.
Ek luister vir jou.
Ek was aan 'n patrollie doen hier so in Ermelo Wes omgewing, hoor.
Baie dankie, dis alles reg so. En rapporteer maar.
Ons maak se dankie.
For centuries, South Africa's rural communities have been protected by the commando system. Yet this system of voluntary civilian law enforcers is being phased out because, perhaps understandably, the government fears that an estimated 70,000 white men with guns could create unease.
Good evening, lady. Is it possible to see your license and registration?
Despite government attempts to end the commando system, though, some locals continue to quite literally take the law into their own hands.
What's your business of your visit?
Is the hinterland becoming more dangerous?
I think so, because it's not densely populated anymore.
Are people selling out, or are they just leaving because of fear?
Selling out, fear, the policy around agricultural in South Africa.
There's a farmer near us, Bertie, you ken van Bertie. Now he sold out after 12-day threats that he had in a very short suddenly. They just found him and started threatening. And now his brother was cross with him because he sold his farm. But now his brother is also going to sell and leave. That's now in my area. We were 7 active members in our farm watch, but now we're only 2 left.
Was that a shotgun? Why do you stay here? It's dangerous, you don't have subsidies.
It's lovely. You can't take this sunrise and this sunset. You can't change that for anything in the world.
No, here Australia's pretty nice this time of year.
People see it as a form of ethnic cleansing, an attack on our land. And it's not true. I think the police in South Africa are useless. But they're not more useless to whites than to blacks. They're just generally good for nothing.
The 2,000 plus farm murders since 1994 make farming in South Africa one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. But this statistic is not the only reason Afrikaners get hot-blooded over the issue of land.
There's this very emotional feeling about the Afrikaners and the soil. A lot of black people say the same thing, their ancestors live on the ground, but all, white and black, have been attracted by urbanization and the bright lights of the cities. So it's as if they can overcome this feeling, which I don't say it doesn't exist, but it is not so strong that it's going to keep people on the land.
But Terre'blanche insists that he's going nowhere.
Dis my liefling ma. Die is my helse pa. My pa was net so sterk soos die rots. My pa het altyd gesê, jy moenie vir my 'n kopklipie maak nie. Gehaal vir my daai die berge, graniet. Gebring. My pa was die natuurlike leier van hierdie omgewing. Hy was ook die kommandant van die kommando's. Hier is my pa se monument. Jy sien, ek kan nooit as vreemdelinge dit wil koop. Of dat Franse of Duitsers of Amerikaners of Tswanas of Sotos is. Hulle kom na my plaas en sê, ek vat na jou plaas. Teen die prys wat die minister bepaal. Ek verkoop nie die grond nie. Die grond is nie in die mark. Die grond as die Terre'blanche is. En hy bly so vir altyd. Geen mag op aarde sal het vat nie.
They won't shed their last drop of blood. One or two may, but the Afrikaner as a whole may not, because a lot of the Afrikaners are living in London at this stage, or they're living in Australia. They're not living here. So they quite clearly are not willing to do that. They're willing to explore a new, open, globalized world. And it's true for even the Afrikaners on the land here. Clearly they want to farm, but they sell all the time.
Yet many farmers who have remained feel they are facing attacks on two fronts, from land reformists and from criminals. For members of the Transvaal Agricultural Union, these twin concerns have become obsessions.
Goed, ek wil net vra, is daar enige nuwe sake by punt 6? Dit gaan oor die eiendomsreg, is daar iets wat ons moet aanvul hierby?
Gaan kyk wat is die implikasies van hierdie onteieningswet. Dit is die grootste ingreep op beleggersvertroue wat jy seker kan kry. Ons sit met baie harde realiteite in Suid-Afrika en ons kan dit nie wegwens nie. Dit is daar. Dit is in Afrika, dit is besig om in weier gedeeltes van Afrika te gebeur, maar ook in Suid-Afrika. En ek wil dit saamvat met 'n begrip, 'n Afrika realiteit. Dit gaan oor mag en oor verryking van myself en hulle voel 'n veer vir hulle onderdane. En die ANC se beleid soos hy nou uitgespeel word, sal vir Suid-Afrika hongersnood bring uiteindelik. Ek is nie besig om mense swart te smeer nie. Hulle smeer hulle self swart. Die werklikheid praat. Dis mense wat net eenvoudig nie presteer nie. En dit is die realiteit van Afrika.
I think right-wing Afrikaners are an African reality. There are many examples of stroppy tribes in Africa who behave exactly like they do. And in a sense, right-wing Afrikaners have become a stroppy African tribe who've been overthrown from power and they're now mumbling in the shadows instead of accepting.
They're contributing to it themselves by the way that they view the future. Instead of actually building, they're standing there and they're saying, I told you so.
What we need is for a new leadership in civil society and in government to come forward and say, well, let's join these realities.
As much as it was brought on by Mbeki's approach to white people, it can be changed by somebody whose approach is more like Tutu or Zuma, who gives more credit and more recognition to Afrikaners than Mbeki was willing to do.
Jacob Zuma, leader of the ANC and favourite to be South Africa's next president, is a controversial figure who has faced numerous criminal charges. But even in the midst of all his problems, he has recently attempted to engage with the historical enemy.
Afrikaners have played a very specific role in shaping the history of this country. Whether aspects of it people like it or not, they're an important group to interact with, to help bring harmony and stability in the country.
If you have a special skill as a farmer or as an entrepreneur, we want you, with your special skills, to come and make life better for the majority, you included. I think it is that easy for this government.
And I believe if we interact, if we talk, we'll discover that in fact we have so much in common. Utilize your skills to help others, and you can move forward and build our country.
Some Afrikaners are keen to join the police force as reservists. In the meantime, people like Werner Seltzer are busy practicing a somewhat extreme form of self-defense.
We had meetings now 2 weeks ago with the head of the reservists to just say, please, we want to join. And that guy, okay, his attitude was positive. But yes, if they say, listen guys, come and join, and they are fair. If a perpetrator comes to kill me and I kill him first, they don't want to lock me up for it. They look over the situation from all sides and they are consequent. Yeah, then we will be positive. But now, like what happened in the West Transvaal, that guy shot two guys, was busy breaking his bedroom door down, and he shot them through the door because, I mean, if a guy breaks down your door, he's not coming for a visit. And now Kusatu says, no, they must lock him up because he's a racist. How could he know it was two black guys on the other side of the door?
But for Seltzer, issues of race and crime are indivisible.
It is racial. If It weren't like that. There would have been plenty of reasons to be positive.
I think the worst thing you can do to an Afrikaner is call him something like a colonialist or a settler, because there's not much to Afrikaans culture. There's not much that makes us different, but history, and we regard ourselves as indigenous people, because we're from mixed blood. We're a bastard people, and we're from here. We're indigenous. I'm an African. We're the only people who call ourselves by the name of the continent. Eugene Terre'blanche, mad caricature that he is an African. He would be so out of place in Europe.
Yet, in modern-day South Africa, Terre'blanche also appears to be completely out of place.
E paso. For how can a man die better facing fearful odds? For the ashes of his fathers and the temples of his gods. If they are going to take my land, I'm going to cross the Rubicon. And that means war.